This will be my Outlander Season 7, Episode 15 preview video, titled Written in My Own Heart's Blood. As always, if you are looking to avoid spoilers from the books or the show, please do keep on scrolling. So this trailer is a doozy. They crammed a lot of tiny little clips into this little preview video. I had to put it on a very slow speed to capture them all, but there's a lot of juicy information in here that we should discuss. This first scene here is Jamie and Claire, and there's an audio overlay where Claire and Jamie are talking to one another, and she says, "I won't say goodbye," and Jamie says, "No need to, I love you." Now this is undoubtedly when Jamie is getting ready to head off to battle, and once again Claire has to say goodbye to him, and they both promise each other that they will see each other at the end of the battle. For some context, in the books, this battle takes place in June, and in the show, there is snow on the ground. So they are tweaking the timeline and story of events slightly in the show, just given the shooting schedule and when they happen to get around to shooting this battle. I predict in this episode we will have the Battle of Monmouth and then the aftermath of what happens in that battle. I don't foresee this being another big epic like they did in season 2 with Culloden, where we have like lengthy battle scenes. I think they're probably going to make it a shorter battle scene and focus more so on the aftermath of the battle in this episode, particularly how it affects Claire and also the aftermath of this battle. Denzel Hunter is present for it, so there are a lot of key players that will be involved in this battle, and therefore dealing with the aftermath and the emotional implications of all of the horrific trauma that they're about to see. In the books, Claire has the hospital set up in a church near the battlegrounds, and she actually is able to deduce that this is the Battle of Monmouth because when Bree was a child, she had a coloring book that depicted some of the events from the Revolutionary War, and one of the pages was of a woman, Molly Pitcher, who carried water out to the men on the battlefield and then eventually took up her husband's position manning a cannon. And so Claire is able to kind of piece herself into this history by remembering that coloring book that Bree had as a child. We then get this quick shot of the stones at Craignadoon, and we see Roger and Buck, who are discussing kind of the implications of what they just went through with Roger's father, and Roger starts to question, what if we did something that changes the course of time? Roger, as I've said previously, is very interested in figuring out time travel, how it works, and is writing a book for the kids so that they all collectively have a stronger understanding of how it works, how they can travel through time, what works best, what doesn't work. And since he's now had this interaction with his father, Jerry, he's wondering if there are implications moving forward. I suspect this will also strongly tie into Bree's storyline, as Bree is going to start looking for Roger in the past because she's trying to escape from Rob Cameron. And I really have a strong feeling they're going to condense her storyline significantly, just given where we're at with the pacing of this season. But I'm so glad to see that Brianna is holding a letter in this preview video, which I hope, really strongly hope, is the letter from her stepfather, Frank Randall. And that whole storyline to me was one of my favorites, as Frank writes her a letter in the past warning her about people like Rob Cameron targeting her and why she's being targeted, gives her a little more insight into what's going on with that whole storyline. And Bree just learns a lot about her upbringing and why Frank taught her what she learned as a kid, and uses a lot of that information moving forward in her storyline. So I'm really optimistic that we're going to get this a little bit more fleshed out, because again, it was one of my favorite plot points in the books. Then we get another quick shot of Jamie walking amongst his men, and this is Claire, and I believe she's talking to Rachel Hunter here just because of the bonnet. In this voiceover, Claire is telling her, we all believe that and we're doing in our hearts what must be done, or something of that sort. I think this is probably because this is going to be a difficult, bloody battle, and Rachel seemingly seems to be kind of taking the place of Dottie's role in the books. Dottie in the books is much more of a nurse assistant aide to Claire during this battle because she is married, or will be married technically after the battle, to Denzel Hunter. And so she is, Dottie was more involved in the caretaking aspect of this battle. I think they're going to replace that role with Rachel here. Then in this scene, we see young Ian and Lord John approaching the Hessians who we saw William with at the end of episode 14. Now again, this storyline has been tweaked a lot and changed a lot and sped up a lot, but technically it's still true to the books in that we saw William going here under the command of Captain Richardson to deliver a message to this man here, who then is planning to hold William captive in order to convince Lord John and Hal to pay a ransom for him, and really discredit the Grey family, which stems from Lord John's brother Hal being very outspoken against the war, and there's a lot wrapped up in the storyline. But Ian finds William in a different way in the books, so I'm curious if they're going to try and kind of combine book plot into this new storyline and tweak it a little bit too. Now this shot, it's hard for me to make out who these people might be, but my first guess is this is William, and potentially they're going to have this be Lord John. I'm really unsure how they're going to play this. And then here we can see these are the Continentals watching the rebels approach them. And there's a voiceover here of Denzel Hunter saying the redcoats are coming, we must go. And we can see Denzel here with Rachel running through the camp, presumably taking cover as the redcoats approach. In the books, again, the first kind of skirmish happens in an orchard. Obviously they're filming this in Scotland, so the setting might change slightly, but that is a book detail that I remember. Then we get this shot here of Claire saying, I will not leave them to die, which of course we know is very true to her character and everything she stands for when dealing with injuries and soldiers hurt in battles. In the books, there is a gentleman, and I forget his name, who doesn't want Claire there because she's a woman. I have a feeling that's this man here. We can see the Continentals running into this camp. I am assuming this is where they're setting up the hospital rather than using the book concept of setting it up inside of a church nearby. Then we get this shot here of Jamie yelling to his men, follow me, we must move. And here he is running through the woods. Here we get another shot of the redcoats, which we can see are closing in on a section of the camp here. And then this was like a blink and you'll miss it shot of young Ian attacking what I believe is one of the Hessian soldiers. In the books, when Ian finds William has been knocked unconscious by one of them and is in a ravine, and young Ian finds him at the bottom of this ravine, and then Ian is attacked by two Indians and he gets shot with an arrow. So I'm wondering if this is just maybe them changing that slightly and Ian's involved in the fight that William takes part in. Here we see another gemstone implicating that someone is going to be traveling through the stones. Again, where they're speeding so much up, I have a hard time believing that this is going to be Brianna already, but never say never. But this coat does look like Roger's, so I'm wondering if maybe they're going to speed up him contemplating going through the stones. Then we get this shot of young Ian and Lord John Grey. Again, in the books, they aren't partnered up and heading to go find William together. Ian finds William, gets shot, and then finds Lord John Grey, and then they end up saving William. So slight change here again. Then we see Claire tending to this soldier here. We get these two quick shots of people up close and personal shooting at each other. And then this is the ending shot with a voiceover of Claire saying, we pay a heavy price for freedom. Now Claire, and this is a big spoiler, she does get injured, and I'm curious if they're going to use that as the finale episode. I think they're probably going to. So I am very curious how the pacing of this episode is going to go, what they include, what they put off. It should be pretty dramatic, and I'm excited for it, especially since I enjoyed this week's episode so much. And there's a lot upcoming action-wise for all of the characters. So let me know, what are you most excited to see in next week's episode?